Welcome to Sales Part 3, Capture and Follow Up with Leads. In this tutorial, we'll talk about capturing lead, being available, the lead essentials, recording it in M2, and thank you emails. From there, we'll also discuss lead follow-up, identifying the leads, the lead sequence, and personalizing your follow-up, and then talking about goals and objection reviews. The first part about capturing a lead is making sure you're available. So you always want to answer the phone on the second ring. If you're busy, make sure you answer the phone and say you will call right back. If someone else is in the center with you, make sure they're trained to answer the phone and have them answer while you are completing your tasks. If it's the time of year that we have peak calls coming through all the time, or if it's the end of a month and you're waiting on some calls from your current parents, make sure you forward the phone to your cell phone. If you have any missed calls on your caller ID when you come in the morning, make sure you call them back as soon as possible. That way you can reach those leads. And then check your emails for leads and try to call within 2 hours of that email. You want to make sure you're checking your spam folder regularly, because sometimes they fall into this spot. If a lead writes you ever to get pricing, write back, I would love to. When is a good time and what's a good number to reach you at so we can speak? If you're in the center, make sure you turn the lights on and you unlock the door. You don't want to be hiding from any people that could be walking by. And if you're wearing Mathnasium clothing, be sure to always have a business card handy. You never know when someone will recognize the logo and want to talk to you about the business. So if you have someone who calls in, make sure you check the caller ID before you pick up. Is it a business? Is this a cell phone? And is there a name and notes that go along with the results? After introducing yourself, ask and use an inquisitive tone versus grilling questions tone. It's important that we want to make sure they feel confident and comfortable when talking with us. Halfway in the conversation, be sure to also add, don't worry about taking notes. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, and I'll be emailing you all of this information when we're done. And then at the end of the conversation, make sure to ask for the email address. Is this the best number to reach you at? If it's a business phone number, then ask for the best number and don't forget, it's important. You would hate to try to make a follow-up call and call the business back and not be able to reach them. And make sure you spread your questions out and it doesn't come across as you're rapid fire grilling them. Avoid less important questions like how old is your child and what school do they attend if they tend to sound a little bothered by you asking questions. And the last question you always want to ask is, how did you hear about this? You want to make sure that we know where our leads are coming from. And then make sure you're completing the lead contact sheet as you're on the phone to assist you in the correct pattern of what you should be asking and the appropriate questions for each grade level. If you have a walk-in, you want to make sure you follow the process. Have them sign in to the visitor log and then start the center tour. From there, you can walk them into the office and go over, again, all of the lead sheet questions that you need to discuss with them. And if you're at a marketing event, you always want to record all of your raffle entries as leads and treat them as such. If they enter into a scholarship raffle, that means they're interested in the program. Once you've captured your leads, you want to make sure you record them in Salesforce or M2. That's also another name. Prior to this, we've learned how to enter and create new leads in the system, but here's some review just to make sure that you remember how to do it. So on the Home tab, you want to select the Create New and choose the lead from the drop-down box. Enter all of your information collected during the conversation and be sure to include a description that sheds light on the student's math abilities and the parent's reasoning for contacting Mathnasium. Once you've done that, you want to select a lead source and enter in the lead interest and click Save. Under Activity History, you do want to log a call. So you want to change your subject to walk-in, phone lead, etc., depending on what's going on. Once you've done that, you want to set a due date to the date of the call, and presumably it should be the date you're entering it. From there, you do want to create a new task by scrolling down and change the subject to follow-up number 1 if it's a lead who has not already scheduled an assessment. If they've already scheduled an assessment, then you need to create a new event and plug the assessment information in. From there, you always want to send a thank you email to your parents for stopping by. So you want to use the Salesforce send email function in the appropriate template based on their grade level. Here is an example email that we send to our customers that were pre-algebra and below. Pause the video to read through it so you become a little bit more familiar. Now, when we're following up with our leads, you want to make sure you follow up individually. So the first step in that is identifying the appropriate leads for follow-up from your calendar. From there, we do have a sequence of emails and phone calls to make sure that we're contacting them in the right way and offering the appropriate things. Once you know which follow-up you were on, you always want to personalize your message and then track your lead communication in Salesforce. So the way you want to identify your leads that are ready for follow-up are through your Salesforce calendar, and you can view that either through the daily view or a printable view. You'll also see your tasks on the right-hand side. Sometimes these tasks are covered by the phone team. Other times they are tasks that you have set for yourself. Now, you will know if it's a task set by yourself because it will say CD next to the task. If it's phone team, there will not be a CD abbreviation in the front. In your tutorials, there is a copy of our sequence of lead follow-ups that you can print and place in your training binder to help you remember the different follow-ups that you need to be completing with those leads that are yours and not the phone teams. The first follow-up is follow-up number 1, and that call is made 2 days after the initial contact with the lead. What you want to do is ask if they have any questions about the program and if they're ready to schedule an assessment. 80% of the time, people don't answer and you're leaving a voicemail. From there, follow-up number 2 is 2 days after follow-up number 1. And again, you want to ask if they have any questions about the program and if they're ready to schedule an assessment. If at any point they're ready to schedule an assessment, you'll go ahead and close your follow-up task and complete it, and then create an event for that parent. If you get to follow-up number 3, this is an email that is done 2 days after follow-up number 2. In this email, we let them know that we've tried to reach them by phone and offer a trial session or a center visit to them to try to get them in the center. We do have a template for follow-up number 3 in the send an email function. Follow-up number 4 is in a call 4 days after our follow-up number 3 email. And this is where we want to follow up with them and see if they'd like to take us up on our offer of a trial session or center visit. And if they're still not interested, we want to make a very compelling offer. For example, if you have a lead or contact and we're in the last week of the month, if you have them come in and assess, then we can offer them the rest of this month for free, and they would just be prepaying for next month. Follow-up number 5 is an email 7 days after follow-up number 4, and it's following up on the interest that we offered from that compelling offer in follow-up number 4. Now, if at this point they still haven't scheduled an assessment or made an appointment for a center visit or a trial session, we want to schedule a follow-up number 6 during report card week or a couple weeks later. We know this problem is not going to be solved or band-aided with private tutoring. It's just going to get worse. So we always want to contact them around this time to see if they're still interested, and we can make another very compelling offer. When you are calling these leads, you want to make sure that you're personalizing your message. So the first part of that is your greeting. You want to leave yourself a message at first, saying what you would say and see how it sounds. Again, you want to make sure you have personality in these phone calls and you don't sound like a computer. Make sure you slow down and enunciate. And if you have to, if you have a confusing last name, just skip it when you're conversing on the phone. If you introduce yourself and you have a long last name, just say, "Hi, my name is Lauren from Math Museum, the Math Learning Center. I'm the center director, and I'm just checking in to see if you and Bobby are ready to schedule an assessment." You want to personalize your message. So make sure you're saying the person's name and their son or their daughter. Or if you know the students' names, say the students' names. You want to use all details you've gathered about that client and mention exactly what they told you the last time. This is why the notes and logging a call in your system is so important. And be creative. If you keep missing them and they're not answering their phone, vary the call time. If you typically make your lead calls around noon, then go ahead and push it to 2 o'clock to see if maybe that's a better time. Or maybe email is best. And that's why our follow-up number 3 and follow-up number 5 are emails, because that might be better communication with those parents. So what are our goals with our leads? Well, number 1, our goal is always to schedule an assessment. So when we last spoke, you said you were going to speak to your husband. I'm calling to see if there's any questions that came up during that conversation and if you're ready to schedule the assessment. Then don't speak and allow for them to answer. If the client's not ready to schedule an assessment, then go ahead and attempt scheduling a center visit. Would you like to bring the family by to visit the center and get a feel for our curriculum and the atmosphere? We can even do a trial session with your student, and he or she can bring in their homework for a complimentary session. That'll help them feel a little bit more comfortable with the program, and they can get to know some of our instructors. If the lead has moved on or isn't interested anymore, make sure you ask them why. Try to overcome those objections once they put them out. Never accept a no reason answer. No, we have no questions. Okay, great. So when would you like to come in for that assessment? No, we're not ready for the assessment yet. Oh, I see. May I ask why? Well, I haven't talked to my wife yet. Well, would you like to both come in for 10 minutes to see the center and we can discuss the program in person? Well, I don't think Bobby would like the program. You know what? I'm confident they will. We do offer a 30-day cancellation for any reason, and we also offer a complimentary trial session for him to bring in his homework, and we can work with an instructor and see if he likes it. Well, we've gone with a private tutor. I completely understand. But please know that private tutors are only going to be a Band-Aid, and they won't fix the problem. We have over 18,000 pages of curriculum and diagnostic assessments that will go back and diagnose where things went wrong. Since math is sequential, we want to make sure we fill in those foundational skills. If we don't, things are only going to get worse. So please keep us in mind for the future, and I'll follow up in a few weeks to check in on Bobby and see how he's doing.